I wasn't really sure what to expect when going into the newest Smash Bros. Game. While Brawl was a great game in its own right, it just didn't woo me in the same way that Melee did, and I was a tad worried that perhaps the series would be taken in a direction that would woo me even less. Though, to my delight, Smash Bros. 4 is like this happy middle ground between Melee and Brawl, at least for me, and that's more or less what I wanted. The visuals are whimsical and pretty, the amount of trophies and things to collect and unlock is ridiculous. Of course, the gameplay is fantastic and sped up, and the roster is loaded with characters, and as of that Cloud announcement, nothing about the roster makes sense anymore. But damn it, I love it, and I hope Nintendo is taking my Shigeru Miyamoto ballot entry very seriously. But seeing as though I can't get smashed out of my head as of late, I thought there'd be no better time than to talk about the beta and cut content of Super Smash Bros. 4. Now, the origins of Smash Bros. 4 started with a proposal from Sakurai back in 2012, outlining the direction that he wanted to take the newest installment in the series, through the magic of a PowerPoint presentation. The main goal for the project would be dual-platform interaction between the Wii U and 3DS versions of the game, as well as making sure that the 3DS could provide that Smash experience. Something easier said than done given its limited processing speed, lack of memory, smaller screen, and the fact that Sakurai didn't want to compromise or downgrade the Wii U version of the game just for the sake of a 3DS version, and that he wanted both experiences to be ideal, something that they did accomplish, although it came at the price of some cut content, which we'll get to soon enough. From here, Sakurai wanted to move away from the more realistic designs that were introduced in Brawl in favor of having the characters look closer to their original actual designs, and since we moved away from realism, it made room for the introduction of Mii Fighters. Now, Mii Fighters were originally going to appear in Smash Bros. Brawl, though after giving it some thought, Sakurai decided against it, over concerns that fighting Miis would promote bullying, given the lighthearted and simple nature of the Miis. It's apparently a-okay to do that now, though. Speaking of the Mii Fighters, though, their moves were initially set up to have to be unlocked like every other character's alternate specials, so they opted to just give the Mii Fighters all their moves as a default instead. Probably because a Mii Fighter with no real defining characteristics or cool specials is probably less fun to play as than a normal fleshed out character with all their signature moves in check and ready to go, minus the cooler ones that you'd have to unlock separately. Now, in the final version of the game, each character has 3 variations of a special that they can choose from, though initially Sakurai wanted there to be 4 variations for each character. An example he gave was Mario throwing a normal fireball, a fast fireball, a larger, more damaging fireball, or a double fireball. It's unknown why they didn't end up doing this, though if I had to guess, perhaps there were moves that the 3DS just couldn't handle, and since they needed both versions to be the same, it wasn't doable. Or maybe 4 variations was deemed overkill. Regardless, remnants of some of these unused moves are still left in the game, and they look weird because they're not complete. Link for the full version of these moves will be in the description of this video. Moving forward though, even at the proposal stage of the project, Sakurai was dead set on adding 8-player Smash to the game, something he'd wanted to do since Melee, which is something I talked about in the Gaming Mysteries on Super Smash Bros. Melee. Though of course, this would end up being a Wii U only feature as the 3DS would melt. To further the 8-player experience though, he wanted to add special rules to 4-on-4 team battles, in a similar fashion for what was done with Kid Icarus Uprising. But of course, no such features actually made their way into the game. Originally, Sakurai wanted Smash Rush for the 3DS version of the game to be much more robust, with it originally featuring co-op play along with co-op power-ups. Though because the 3DS's processor was unable to display multiple fighters on the same screen, the co-op mode was dropped entirely, as were the power-ups. When looking at earlier builds of the game, a number of differences can be seen. In the E3 build of the game, Luigi was once able to wall jump, though he can do no such thing in the final game. Mega Man's Leaf Shield initially had a faster startup to it, which is nice. And a lot of characters were still using their old moves, voice clips, and even art from Brawl, most likely as placeholders. Fox's illusion move was initially far more detailed. Ike's eruption move originally had boring normal red flames as opposed to cool blue ones. The boxing ring stage originally had some nice brighter lighting going on. And Kirby for the longest time just didn't show any emotion while doing anything. He got him eventually, but for a while there he wasn't really looking overly thrilled to be in the game. Though of all the little differences from the game's earlier builds, most notable to, at least me, is the earlier version of Trophy Rush, which in the final game only allows you to play for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but as we can see here, this person has 3 minutes and 21 seconds left on the clock. While it's unknown why they limited the time in the final version of the game, if I had to guess, I'd say they probably didn't want people putting in a ridiculous amount of gold, playing that mode for a ridiculous amount of time, and potentially unlocking a good portion of the trophies in a single go, as that would render the mode a little pointless in the long run. Next up, we move on to some cut content, starting with characters. Now, the most notable omission from the game are the Ice Climbers, characters that Sakurai had every intention of including in the title, and even had them running without fault on the Wii U version of the game, though the team had trouble getting the characters to work on the 3DS version, with their mere presence causing frame rate issues. And since he wanted both games to be equal, no Ice Climbers for anyone. Another planned character for the game was Taka Maru from the mysterious Murasame Castle, although he was ultimately decided against due to lack of familiarity. A fair assumption on their part. He did make his way into the game as an assist trophy though. Next, we have Crom from Fire Emblem Awakening. He too was intended to join the roster, with Sakurai even having thought up a full moveset for him. But in the long run, the character ended up falling in between Marth and Ike in terms of playstyle, and so he ended up being omitted. Although one could say the same thing about Roy, so maybe he'll make it into the game as DLC as well. I doubt it, but Cloud's gonna be in the game, so literally anything could happen at this point. Yet another considered character was Heihachi from the Tekken series, a cameo that would make sense given the developer, although it was decided that his moveset would be far too difficult to actually implement into Super Smash Bros. To make amends for this, they gave him his very own Mii Fighter costume, which I purchased, tax included, and it's just like the real thing except not at all. Another cut fighter is that of the Chorus Men from Rhythm Heaven, and besides them, the game was also to feature Alf as his own unique character before being made an alternate costume for Olimar. While we're talking about Pikmin though, Rock Pikmin were originally to be featured in Smash Bros. 4. They would allegedly do more damage than other Pikmin when thrown, though due to time constraints they didn't make their way into the final product. Moving back to alternate costumes though, Dark Pit, Lucina, and Dr. Mario were all originally intended to be alternate costumes for Pit, Marth, and Mario respectively, but as development continued, the characters were given unique characteristics to help them stand out as full-fledged characters, instead of being mere costumes. In the case of Dr. Mario, the team actually figured it would be kind of insensitive to fans of Melee to turn Doctor into a costume rather than a full character, so it's nice that he made it in. Lastly, we have some unused stages, one based on the Brain Age series, which would have been trippy, one based on Electroplankton, and evidently one based on Swap Note, which really I can live without at least 2 of those, because the real loss here is the left out Dr. Mario stage, as along with this stage came an unused boss in the form of viruses, which did end up in the game as a trophy, but sadly no stage to go along with it. What I find interesting about all this unused content though is that there doesn't really seem to be any real good reason for its omission other than that they couldn't provide the same experience on both the Wii U and 3DS. Which has me thinking, Nintendo just released that newer, more powerful 3DS not too long ago. With the advent of this, could Nintendo possibly revisit some of these scrapped ideas they couldn't do before in the form of DLC now? Not necessarily all of them, but, maybe the ones fans care about, like Ice Climbers, or that Dr. Mario stage. I care about that one. Sure, going under the assumption that it's possible, not everyone will have the newer 3DS, and thus not everyone will be able to access that content, but that didn't stop Nintendo from putting out software that only runs on their new system, so why the hell not? Swing for the fences, you guys. Add Ice Climbers in the game. Maybe a stage. And Ridley as a playable character. Any one of those would be great. But this has been Gaming Mysteries. Thank you for watching. Hey guys, Win here, and welcome back to End Slate, where I went to bed and I woke up and now there's snow on the ground, so it's winter. So I'm a little disorientated, but I hope you enjoyed the new Gaming Mysteries on the beta of Super Smash Bros. 4. I've been wanting to talk about this since... Or, actually, I've been wanting to do a video on Smash Bros. 4 since it came out. So, yay! Also, happy early Thanksgiving. But now, on to End Slate. The first End Slatey thing I'd like to do is recommend the last video I did on this channel, which was an obscure gaming on Pokemon Gold Silver. All, no ands, by the way, all one thing. For the Super Nintendo. Another video I'll recommend is I don't know. I think it'll be a question mark, again, actually. It could be anything. And the last video I'll recommend is part 1 of A Terrible Idea, because I started a Let's Play of Ocarina of Time, which is a very original idea that no one else on YouTube has ever done before. As for the bottom of the screen, Nico does the arts, and you should follow the arts. Video games are art. And then I have social media like Twitter, and I wouldn't consider myself art though, so that's, you know. And then for this part, if you like the video and you want to like it or share it or subscribe or any of that stuff, it's greatly appreciated, but I'm not gonna force you to do it, because I'm thankful for you for even watching this video in the first place. Also, I have a Thanksgiving video on Thanksgiving, so there you go. But this is it for End Slate for today. I have a slight cold, so I want to stop recording this. Next time on End Slate, happy Thanksgiving. See you guys next time on End Slate.